Welcome to Wednesday's ESPN FC Live. Mark Donaldson alongside Mr. July. Only one of us has appeared in an LA Galaxy calendar as a pin-up, and it isn't me. Just look at this. You ain't putting that anywhere. Does that mean it's you, Ali?
Well, I feel like if you mention it, I should show it then. Hold on.
I
Wait
agree.
a second.
By process of elimination, if it's not me, then...
Yeah, wait.
See,
If
always...
we're going to, let's give it the love that it needs, that it requires, that it deserves.
See, look at this. Look at this.
Oh, yes. The month of July, baby.
No, it's when it all happens, when everyone's on vacation and no one's home.
Mr. July.
Mr.
Mind
July.
I had just scored a goal here. I didn't score many, but I scored this night.
Let me guess, it was from 6 yards or closer in. But it doesn't matter because they're all happy, your teammates, because they got their win bonuses, assuming.
That's right. That's right.
Wednesday's show is not about calendars or LA Galaxy back in the day. We're going to look ahead to the Classico. It's Real Madrid, Barcelona on Sunday. We're also going to look ahead to Arsenal and Liverpool and what happens next season, regardless of whether they do or they don't win the title, and plenty more still to come. But I want to start with the Classico, and I want to start, Ali, with the question I'm going to ask you now regarding Barcelona's preparation for the Classico and how different your answer is perhaps now than if I'd asked you that question prior to their Champions League exit yesterday.
Yeah, obviously, and we're still awaiting as to what happens with Real Madrid and what their mindset is going to be after they play Manchester City. So I think it's a wait and see in terms of the mentality of both of these teams. But for Barcelona, you look at the current season and it felt like things were turning around. It felt like the energy and the vibes were positive, if you will, for Barcelona because of how well they had played, or I would argue how good the results had been, not so much how well they had played, but how good their results had been over the last month or so. And there was even some sort of, I guess, movement towards asking the question, Xavi sticking around? If they go all the way through the semifinals and then the final Champions League, does that mean that Xavi sticks around, and should he stick around? And all of that has now come to a complete stop. That conversation is no longer the case for Barcelona. Champions League is now out of the question. The league title, frankly, realistically, is out of the question as well, regardless of what happens in El Clasico. And so they come into this matchup against Real Madrid, needing to win in order to stay in that contention. And I think what's more likely to happen is that they are handed the death blow in the title race in LaLiga. But regardless, yes, the mentality of Barcelona would be far different coming to El Clasico than it would have been had they advanced past PSG in Champions League.
Yeah, anything less than a win for Barcelona at the Bernabeu on Sunday. And you can't quite crown Real Madrid as champions again, but you can get the silverware ready, polished, and you can get the engraver ready to type in, or to type in. Engravers don't type, but to engrave Real Madrid.
It's a new era engraver.
A new era engravery. So, Barca win, and it goes to 5 points with 6 games left. What type of title race would we have if that was to be the case?
I suppose an outside chance still for Barcelona.
No more than
a couple of things that go into play here. You have to look at who Real Madrid will play and what the tough matchups would be for them. Realistically, what are some of the games that they could lose? Have they played away against Athletic Club? Yes, they have. Have they gone away to Atletico Madrid? Yes, they have. And so is Girona going to be a problem? Well, no, they were not a problem because every time they played against Real Madrid this season, they melted and Real Madrid were dominant. They no longer have to play Barcelona. And so who are they going to lose to in order to provide Barcelona with a true opportunity to get back into this title race? I suppose the most dangerous game would be El Clasico. But even if you lose that, you still maintain a 5-point lead. With 6 matches to go, I still don't think it would be enough for Barcelona. It would make it more exciting, I suppose. We'd have more of a conversation about it. We'll sort of flirt with the idea that maybe there's a title race, but yeah, I don't think, regardless of what happens in El Clasico, I don't think Barcelona are truly in this title race, and I don't think that Real Madrid would collapse in the manner that would allow Barcelona to get back into it.
Real Madrid are the likely title winners. If that is the case, where would this Real Madrid squad, by way of quality and the way that they would have won the title, compare with recent years in your eyes?
I would look at this as one of the best coaching jobs by Carlo Ancelotti. And the reason I say that is if you were to think about some of the key players in any team, not just Real Madrid, you start, and we always have this conversation when we analyze a team. Let's look at down the spine of the team. That's sort of a go-to analysis and breakdown of a team. Well, down the spine of this team, Thibaut Courtois out for the season. Eder Militao just came back from an ACL injury. How much of an impact will he have towards the end of the season? Well, I don't think all that much, but he has missed most of the season. David Alaba turned ACL, also missed most of the season. And then you keep going down that spine, and eventually you get to the front. And in the front, what about Karim Benzema? He gone. So you don't even have a striker. And so then you begin to understand some of the challenges that Carlo Ancelotti has had this season. And I won't stop there, because Vinicius Jr. has had injury issues. Rodrigo has been inconsistent. Sometimes he's hot, sometimes he's cold. Jude Bellingham, while he was great at the beginning of the season and continues to be a really important player for them, had injury and suspension issues. And throughout all of that, Carlo Ancelotti has found ways to rotate people in and out, to find productivity from players. Brahim Diaz has had a role in this. Joselu has had a role in this. When Vini Jr. was missing, Rodrigo picked up the pace in terms of the scoring. And you see the continuity of the work that Carlo Ancelotti is able to do. The management of the position, guys like Edward Camavinga or Tchouaméni, who maybe doesn't want to play as a center back, but who was utilized as a center back because, well, they didn't have anybody to play the position. And so this would have been, if indeed they go on to win the title as we expect them to do, this would have been one of the finest jobs that Carlo Ancelotti has ever done coaching, because the expectations don't change for Real Madrid, by the way, regardless of the injuries, and he's been able to deliver with results. Performances, it's a different sort of conversation, but with results, Real Madrid has been the most consistent team in LaLiga, without a doubt.
And that's the thing, only 7 games that they haven't won. They currently have the same number of points as they did for the entirety of last season, 78 points. Barca had 88 in winning the title last year, so Real Madrid 10 points short of that. You mentioned the fixtures. This is what Real Madrid have left after Barcelona. They go to Real Sociedad. They're at home to Cadiz. They're at Granada. They're at home to Alaves. They're at Villarreal. And they're at home to Betis. So the likelihood of them slipping up, even if Barcelona win this weekend, is, well, unlikely. So where would that leave Barcelona? Because similar to my first question about if I'd asked you this question yesterday, would your answer have been different? If I'd asked you about Xavi yesterday, prior to the Champions League exit, and the talk that he may be staying after all at the end of the season, 24 hours on, was that a fatal blow to Xavi's hopes, even if he says he isn't going to be staying, but the jungle drums were beating in his favor? Does that mean they're on the lookout for somebody else now?
Well, personally, I don't think he was staying regardless. Once you make this sort of decision and you make this public and you go through all the press conferences and explain your decision as to why you're doing it, then it would make no sense to backtrack, because here is the plausible scenario. When you think about next year, let's just say, for sake of argument, that you hang on to Xavi and you say, well, we're going to believe in this project now. We didn't quite believe, but we're going to believe now. Right. And then you don't get off to a good start next season. And what happens? We all of a sudden become non-believers again. And now you have gone through a whole transfer window period in which you perhaps could have gone after a manager and a set of players that manager would want to utilize and would want to have available, and all the circumstances and situations that we have with Barcelona in regards to their player acquisition or lack thereof because of their own limitations. Yeah, you don't want to get to the same position that you were at the beginning of this year, with the team struggling and wondering what are you going to do with the manager. The manager has already said he's going, and so therefore, I imagine the moment that he said he was going, and whatever the conversations were with Barcelona behind closed doors, that Barcelona then decided, okay, we have to formulate a plan as to what comes ahead, whether that's Rafa Marquez, who would seem to be the natural transition, or the sort of convenient transition, because it would cost Barcelona, comparatively speaking, no money. And it would be the cheapest option. Mm-hmm. And Barcelona, at this point, it seems like the cheapest option sometimes is the best option. I imagine that Barcelona has been going through all these scenarios, and so therefore, I don't think that a long, successful run in Champions League was going to change that. I think from the outside looking in, we are saying, yeah, sure, why not? I think Xavi, once you make that decision, you don't backtrack.
I want to speak more about Rafa Marquez in a second, but just a reminder that on Sunday, exclusive coverage of El Clasico, Real Madrid against Barcelona. We're on air an hour before kickoff at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. out west, with kickoff at 3 Eastern and noon out west. And there is a watch party as well going on in Anaheim, if you fancy getting involved there. So Rafa Marquez, you mentioned. Now, what we've seen a lot from Barca this season, sometimes it's been deliberate, sometimes they haven't had much choice, is to play the kids. And when I talk about not having much choice, Marc Guéhiou off the bench against Athletic Club, second touch and he scores a goal. But then Pau Cubarsí and others, Hector Fort at right back, have come in and they've done a sterling job. So when you're talking Rafa Marquez and you're talking Barca B and knowing all the players in La Masia and the reserves as well, does that make sense?
Well, look, if it is Rafa Marquez, it's not because they're going to play the young guys. It's as I mentioned earlier, it's the convenient, cheapest option available. It's not. We cannot sit here and say, truthfully and honestly, that Rafa Marquez is the best option for Barcelona or the most qualified option for Barcelona. We simply can't say that. It's a guy that has very little experience coaching. And certainly no experience coaching at the major level. And so it would be a risk, and I suppose it's a risk that in the eyes of Barcelona may be a risk worth taking given their financial circumstances. And they may be forced into convincing themselves that Rafa Marquez is the answer. And he may prove to be the right answer, but let's not sit here and say he's the most qualified. I don't think he is. I just don't know that Barcelona can actually expand their sort of their options out into the world, because they have financial issues that they haven't resolved and that they're still dealing with, and those they will continue to live with for now and in the foreseeable future. And so that's why you make the decision for Rafa Marquez. You don't make the decision for Rafa Marquez because you're thinking, oh, he's going to play the young guys. Whoever comes in is going to have to play the young guys. And mind you, that's what I would do if I would go into Barcelona, because I think the young guys are some of my best players. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Gavi, Pau Cubarsí, who you stumble upon, by the way, because Pau Cubarsí was not in the plans to begin with, but he has become an answer for you. A guy like Fermin Lopez, like, you didn't really know that he was going to be an answer for you. He has been a guy that has provided something important for you. I play the kids because I think they're better options than some of the other guys that I have available.
Okay, the Classico on Sunday. So it takes us back to what perhaps was your best memory, either as a player when you were watching the Classico or since joining ESPN and working on our LaLiga coverage. Have you got one that kind of is above all else for your favorite Classico memory, Ali?
Well, there are many. And I remember a goal in El Clasico by Romario where defender comes out to him and he does that sort of that pull drag move that Romario used to do on around, and then able to finish with the outside of his right foot. And it was just delicious to watch. As a striker, it gives me great pleasure to see something like that. But in terms of overall memories of El Clasico, you have to go back to the performance of Ronaldinho at Santiago Bernabeu. And it's twofold. It's the individual performance of Ronaldinho, the quality of the goals by Ronaldinho, but then it's Santiago Bernabeu, the stadium, getting up off of their seats and clapping for an opposition player and just saying, you know what, you're too good for us. Too good today. You deserve a clap. That, I think, the recognition, when you get the recognition of the Real Madrid fan base that you have been so outstanding, that they are now clapping for you, you must have done something special. That was a special day for Ronaldinho in Barcelona.
Yeah, you mentioned Romario. He's just registered himself as a player for America Football Club at the age of 58. So there's still hope for you yet. You
No.
also mentioned applause and a good ovation for a visiting player. The one memory I want to bring back is Luis Figo. Luis Figo going back to Barcelona for the first time, wearing a Real Madrid shirt in October 2000. The noise at the Camp Nou was deafening, and even some of the players had to go and take the corner kicks in subsequent years because of the abuse that he got. That was something, but he didn't hide from that, and albeit that Real Madrid lost by 2-0, it wasn't quite the return he was looking for. But yeah, if you want noise in the Camp Nou, that was one of the biggest ones. Okay, let's get a prediction for Sunday. What do you reckon? Is it season over for Barca, or is it clinging on to hope with all 3 points at the Bernabeu for the visitors? What you got?
Yeah, I don't think Barcelona goes into Santiago Bernabeu and win this game. The best they can hope for is a draw. Real Madrid, we'll see what kind of mental state they're in going into this match, following what would be celebrations in getting past Manchester City, or complete disappointment. And if it is complete disappointment, that's what would trouble me about Real Madrid. Is there a hangover? Is there a carryover into the match against Barcelona? I think El Clasico will grab their attention regardless. And when you get the full attention of Real Madrid, you usually get close to their best. And their best, I think, right now is better than Barcelona. I'm going to say Real Madrid win it at home 2-1.